Hello friends, welcome to the YouTube channel of Sant Tukaram National Model School, Latur, and myself Abhay Daithankar, your maths teacher. And we were actually discussing about the decimals. In the last video, we have seen how we are going to convert a fraction into decimal and how to convert a decimal into fraction. This we have taken the recall about converting the fraction to decimal and decimal to fraction. In this video, we are going to see what is meant by equivalent fraction and what is meant by like and unlike decimals. What is meant by equivalent decimals and what is meant by like and unlike decimals. So for that, I'm going to share my presentation. So here you can see a figure. There are two squares. Both are of equal size. First square is divided into 100 equal parts, and you'll see second square of the same size. It is divided into 10 equal parts vertically. Now, in the first square, 10 parts out of 100 parts they are shaded with the red. In the second square, one part out of 10 parts it is shaded with the pink. So, what is the fraction of shaded portion in the first square? The fraction is given as 10 out of 100. And yes, this fraction, when we convert into the decimal, we write it as 0.10. Now, the fraction of the shaded portion in the second square is 1 out of 10. And this in the decimal form, we are writing as a 0.1. Now, what do you see from these two figures, from these two squares, is that the shaded portion of both the squares is same. It means the fraction 10 out of 100 and 1 out of 10, they are actually the equivalent fractions. So 10 out of 100 and 1 out of 10, they are equivalent fractions. What about the decimals that we obtain from these fractions? Now, the decimals is nothing but another way of representing the fraction. We also call this as a decimal fraction. So the decimals we obtain from these fractions, they are also equal. So when the fractions are equivalent, the decimals that obtain from these fractions are equivalent. So what is mean by equivalent decimals? The decimals, equivalent decimals are nothing but the decimals which are obtained from the equivalent fraction. Now both the figures, they are showing the equivalent fractions. So decimal 0.10 or 0.1, they are equal or equivalent. We'll see one more figure. So we actually show them by equal sign. In this case, there are two squares. First square is being divided into 100 equal parts and 10 parts are shaded in the red. Second square, it is divided into 1000 equal parts and out of 100 small parts are shaded with the blue. So what is the fraction of red here? The fraction of red is 10 out of 100. And what is the fraction of blue over here? It is 100 out of 1000. How we are going to show it in the decimal form? The decimal form of 100 out of 1000 is 0.100. As you can see that there are 3 zeros in the denominator. So there will be 3 decimal places in the decimal number. So after 3 decimal places, we are going to put a point, we are going to put a decimal point, and we'll write the number. So this number will be 0.10. Now look at these two figures also carefully. We'll find that the shaded portion of both the squares is the same, means the fractions 10 out of 100 and 100 out of 1000, they are equivalent fractions. What about the decimals? 0.10 and 0.100. The decimals that are obtained from these equivalent fractions, they are also equivalent. So in short, can we say that by just adding the zeros after the decimal portion of a decimal number, it will not change the value of the decimal number? Let us go to the board and we'll see this on the board. So I'm stopping the presentation and we'll switch to the board. So I'm going to write all these fractions on the board and you'll see that 1 out of 10 is equal to actually 10 out of 100 is also equal to 100 out of 1000. And what are the decimals that obtained from these fractions are 0.1, 0.10, 0.100. And you see that all these decimals, they are equal, and that's why these are known as the equivalent decimals. The equivalent decimals are nothing but the decimals which are obtained from the equivalent fractions. And yes, you can see that if I add the number of zeros after the decimal portion of a number, it will not change the value. For example, if I write this like 1.0.100000, I can add any number of zeros after the decimal portion of the number. So this is about equivalent decimal. In the next video, we're going to see how to compare and order the decimals.